Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. I am John, your host for this evening, where we are going to discuss all things Spurs, transfer-wise and other. Going to talk about something called Sacred Cow again, which is returning. And I'm going to have a chat with these lovely four gentlemen who are, like myself, all very passionate Tottenham Hotspur fans. First of all, he's been away for a while, and from the looks of it, he's not in Vienna right now. This is not Kansas, is it, Toto? Good evening, HG. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Are you sure you can hear me? Do we need to do like a 10-second across-the-world delay here? I'm all right. Yeah, the weather in Vienna is nice, but you're right, I'm not there. I am somewhere else. It's 31 right now. I'm struggling, but someone has to be here, so I figured it'd be me. But it's good to be back on the show.
Have you been your insight, HG? Indeed, especially on European matters. Next, I'm gonna go to the bottom right. A great debut a couple of weeks ago from down under. We've got Cameron. How are you, sir?
Good morning again from cold, frosty Melbourne. Good to see you all.
Okay. And we've got not one David Harris, but two David Harrises on the show tonight. It is the battle of the David Harrises, but from opposite ends of the world. First of all, our regular Dave-O from Sydney. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I think it's 7 degrees, winter's morning in Sydney. It's been a lot of floods knocking around New South Wales at the moment, unfortunately, but all good. And yeah, you get the older vintage David Harris here.
Well, and moving on, of course, we have the much younger, much better looking Irish Hotspur himself, David Harris. How are you, Irish?
Great. I'm getting a lot of compliments on my looks today. I don't understand where they're coming from, but no, look, I'm good. Life is good. And I mean, Tottenham have done well in the transfer window so far. All positive. Happy. Thanks for having me, boys.
I watched a bit of your show earlier, Irish, and I'm looking forward to hearing the Bergwijn rant again. I did enjoy that earlier. Before we move on, please can I ask you to all hit the like button? It does help us with the old algorithms, gets the show out there. And also, it's a good time to point out we're really close to 5,000 subscribers. So if you've got any friends at Spurs fans, share the show. A bit like Penny Press Podcast, they pass the pod. Share the show. Share the cheese room. So, shall we get on with things? First of all, I've changed the run sheet and my slideshow because this man we pretty much knew it was done. And when Irish went on air earlier, it was pretty much done. And then while he was on air, the club announced we have signed Clement Lenglet, the French international, not Spanish, cooler, on a 1-year loan, subject to international clearance, which will be fine, and a work permit, no doubt. As I understand it, there is no obligation or option to buy at the end of the 12 months. Are you happy with the signing, HG?
Yes, I am actually. I know he's had a rough couple of years, the last couple of years at Barcelona, but then Barcelona have been pretty rough for most of that time. But I remember watching him when he was at Sevilla, thinking, how on earth have they found this guy for €5 million from the French league? I thought we had a French expert at the club. Obviously, we didn't. And he did really well for Sevilla. He was only there, 18 months before going on to Barcelona. So there's clearly a good player there. We know he's left-footed. We know he can pass the ball. We hope that if we play like we did last season with Conte, he won't be doing too much defending anyway, and he will be allowed the chance to move forward and give us another option on that left-hand side. So I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, again, it's low risk, and maybe if there's one, let's say, a younger player that we'd like to have next summer that has more chance of coming long-term, then we'll do that then. But he's 27 just. It's pretty much the prime of his career, and we're getting him on loan. I'm pretty happy with it.
Irish, what are your thoughts about there being no option or obligation to buy? Do you think it literally is just to cover us for a year to sign somebody else?
Look, I think I'll be honest. I'm not too concerned, and there's two reasons why. The first one is when the guy goes back, he'll have 2 years left on his contract. So or it's either 2 years or a year left on his contract. So the ball will still be in our court. He's not going to be able to redeem himself at Barca. So if he has a good season, we'll still be able to go in and put in a bid and lure him to back to Tottenham. But I swear we're also preserving ourselves. And what I really like about this one is that it seems to me we're kicking the can down the road. for the likes of Bastoni or Gavardia, like that, they are our number one target, and that we firmly have our sights set on them. And by bringing in Lenglet on loan, I think there's a 6 million fee for that loan, but ultimately we're not going out and getting our fourth, fifth, sixth choice off that list. We are setting our targets on that first choice. And with Bastoni, it can very well become available. Inter Milan will need to sell. The longer the window goes on, the more they'll need to sell. So something might pop up there. He's also got 2 years left on his contract. So January, we can go again and again next summer, providing he doesn't sign a new contract. So I like the way that our vision is on a Bastoni or a Gavardia, and we are looking to pursue our long-term target. And we've kept enough cash back because we haven't splashed out on fourth or fifth choice, that if that option does become available, we're in a position to pounce.
I'm going to go to this comment by Paul Muir here. Cameron, I'm going to direct it towards you. What, Ake or Lenglet? Who would you prefer to sign?
Oh, I don't mind Ake. I'll go Ake.
45 million?
Yeah, it's a bit high, but yeah, I do like Ake. He's local as well. I'll probably to Ake. But I don't know much. Look, Lenglet, I haven't seen too much of. I've seen the YouTube highlights, seen the odd stat, but I do like Ake, but a couple of million chip off that, and I would say Ake.
Okay. I think the fact that he started at Chelsea, didn't he? Or he was certainly at Chelsea younger in his career. He's probably going to be more than happy to go back there. Davo, so I'm going to ask you the question you wrote literally in the run sheet here. Is Lenglet the French Davinson Sanchez, Vlad Chiriches, or will we be looking at French for Rolls-Royce next May?
Well, I mean, if we're English, so we would say his name is Clement Lenglet, but I would say in France, would we say Clement Lenglet? And I'm feeling distinctly Trey underwhelmed about this signing, to be honest with you. And I'm speaking as someone who's failed their French O level twice and passed at GCSE the third time. I just think that it feels a bit like we were in for all these kind of super signature left-footed centre-back signings, and we've ended up with this guy who, in the last season, I think he played 21 times in La Liga. It was the least amount of appearances he made in his time at Barcelona. Barcelona were pretty poor last season. It was a pretty poor Barcelona team. They didn't even manage to get to the final of the Europa after dropping down from the Champions League. And I just, from what I've read about him and looking at his stats and things like that, the risk there that he could get physically bullied. The good news is that the more physical teams such as Burnley and Watford won't be in the league this season. But I do feel that, I'd still think if we could get Pau Torres in and send Tottenham's calendar of the month, July, Giovanni Lo Celso the other way, that would be a great outcome. And then you get Lenglet in and you see Rodon and Tanganga go out. That would be good. But if he's going to be the backup to Davis, as I said, I quite like Ake. I think he's never really got the rub of the green at Man City. I think he's quite a decent player. And it's a shame that we're not in for him. So I'm sorry, I'm feeling Trey underwhelmed in Sydney. Saint-Martin.
So you've just mentioned Tanganga. He's obviously been linked with... HG's gone. Yeah, Tanganga's been linked with a move to Bournemouth on loan today. HG, good move, do you think, if that happens?
That's a good move for Tanganga. He needs game time. I'm not sure. I mean, he's what, 7th choice now at Spurs? Is he ahead of Rodon? I don't know. How many centre-backs do we have? We still have a load. So, if he's 7th choice, he's almost never going to play a game. He's not going to play as a defensive fullback because we don't play that system. So, for Tanganga's career, what is he, 23 now? He needs to go. I understand that he's club grown, which helps for the Champions League. But I think Conte's probably thought, no, it's good for you. I haven't seen enough in training to make me think, yes, he obviously hasn't played for him because he's been injured. But, to me, it would be one of those loan within obligations, maybe, if they stay up. But it's up to Bournemouth what they want to do. I'm surprised Bournemouth want him, if I'm honest. But if he goes to Bournemouth, will he start there? Will he play every game? That would be a question thing for me. I don't know. But I think for Tanganga, it is a good move, yeah.
Irish, do you think Tanganga's good enough to ever make it at the Spurs, or is it time to Cameron Carter-Vickers him off to Bournemouth?
Do you know what? I've mixed feelings on this one, and the reason why is because we've seen with Tanganga, he can put in exceptional performances against some of the best teams in the country. Man City started the season under Nuno, Liverpool on his debut, and even down to his injuries, even down to making his debut and having the exceptional performance against Liverpool, he reminds me very much like Ledley King in that sort of regard. And for me, look, he's 23. He's one of these that I think I would loan him out. He's had 2 injury hit campaigns. He had the one under Jose where he was out at the start of the season, and the one last season where he was out for the back end of the season. So for me, he's kind of at that stage where he's 23. He's kind of coming out of that development period. I think a loan move to Bournemouth. Let's see how he gets on this year, because with Bournemouth, he's worked with Scotty Parker in the youth setup at Tottenham. So they know each other. Scotty Parker knows exactly what he's going to get from him. And with Tanganga, he's keeping himself in the eye of Tottenham by playing in the Premier League week in, week out. And I think it's one we can keep an eye on. So for me, I would loan him out, see how he gets on this year. And if it doesn't work out for him, then look to sell. But I would loan him out just because he's had the sublime performances, but then he's also had shockers against likes of Chelsea and teams like that. So for me, I think just one more year, loan him, and let's see what happens.
Cameron, what are your thoughts on Tanganga?
You said Juve at the start, didn't you? So I don't know what requirements they have in his equivalent position at Juve. So I think it's positive to go to a foreign league, if that were the case with Juve, you said. So I'm for it. I think players need to grow away from their native country, or even people generally need to go away from their motherland to actually grow. So I actually think it could be a positive thing in multiple respects for Tanganga. I do believe that Juve look at their success. I think that they can actually develop him, probably mentally but as well as physically. Look what Juve's produced. So I think it'd be a positive thing for him.
Is he going to Juve or Bournemouth?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it Bournemouth or Juve?
Bournemouth. There was links with Juve, though, I think. Yeah, Bournemouth. Very different place.
AC Milan and Napoli, I think, are looking at him from Italy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think Bournemouth, Scott Park, he's got links to the club. He'll probably play him in good faith, hopefully. But I don't know Bournemouth squad too well to know how much time we get on there, because we don't want to loan players that don't get any time on the pitch.
Yeah, but this time of year, Bournemouth's a lovely place to go to. Get down there. Sandbanks, I think, is up the road where old Harry Redknapp likes to stay. I think Gazza lives around there as well, doesn't he? I used to go down there. Yeah. I used to go down there with my grandma as a child, and it was lovely. So for Tanganga, the thing with Tanganga is a couple of things about him. I agree with my namesake in Ireland. I think that he's that's where the genius lies in the name David and Harris. I like Tanganga from the point of view he's come in. He had his debut was Liverpool at home, and he had a great game. We remember how he absolutely steamrolled Jack Grealish last year. He had a cracker. But the problem, there's 2 issues with him. I have one for someone so young. He's got a really bad injury record, which is a bit worrying. And the second thing is that his distribution is pretty poor. Yeah. I mean, out of the 6 centre backs we had last season, out of all of them, I'd say he had the worst distribution. But he got injured, and that was the end of him. So I'd say send him out on loan. He's got to have Premier League experience. Don't do a Brian Hill and send him out back to Spain. And see how he goes. And I think it's actually, I'd send him, I think he should go to, it's just a comment here. Apparently there's a high death rate in Bournemouth. I didn't know that, so there you go. But
challenges by Tanganga.
Yeah, so I think he should, go there. But then, if Lenglet is coming in, and so we got 7, Tanganga goes out, we've got 6, and then I want a signature centre-back, and then Rodon can go.
There's been a few leaks of Rodon going alone today. I don't know, I haven't seen any clubs, but there's certainly talk amongst the journalists that he's going to be moving somewhere.
Is that a Welsh joke you just did, John?
Gin?
John?
I'm not the gin.
No, John, you said there's a few leaks about Rodon going somewhere. I thought you were doing a Welsh gag.
No, not that quick this evening. The heat's got to me, Dave. It is hot here down on the south coast, believe it or not. Just on the centre-back thing, Fabrizio reported this, that Bremer, Inter and Torino are in discussions about Bremer. So that one might be off the table for the time being, which might be part of the reason why Lenglet is coming. We know Bremer needs to do another year in Italy to get his citizenship. Apparently, he wants to play for the Italian national team. Right. Shall we talk about an outgoing today? Mr. Bergwijn, we're going to slowly going to wind Irish up. We'll let him go in a minute. What are your thoughts on Mr. Bergwijn HG?
I think everyone knows that I have always liked Bergwijn. I didn't want to sell him. I understand that he wanted to go, so I guess it works out best for everyone that he does, and it's a very good fee. You can't argue with that. But if Bergwijn wants to play every game, he'll do that for Ajax, both in the Dutch league and in Europe. He wouldn't have played every game for Spurs, and I guess that's what it comes down to. It's game time. I was a bit disappointed last year that Conte kept on preferring Lucas, because I think Bergwijn showed that he was a better player in Conte's system than Lucas ever was, but he just never got the chance to do it repeatedly. So in that case, I guess everyone wins a little bit, but I'm kind of disappointed because I think he could have been a very good player for us.
He scored 8 goals in 81 league games for us. I'm going to remove this for a minute so everyone can see your face in full glory. Look at that, it's beautiful. 8 goals in 81 league games. Not the greatest ratio. I appreciate a lot of his games after Jose left were 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. But for an attacking winger, just not good enough, really, was it?
If you base everything on stats, then no. But I wouldn't. Like the best run we had under Jose, as boring as we were, Bergwijn was a part of that team where we won 6 out of 8 games, and Bergwijn was there. And we all know the game at Liverpool. Had he got those chances in, had he scored that day, his career at Spurs probably would have taken off. But it didn't happen. He became the scapegoat. He got injuries at the wrong time. I think he was injured when Conte took over, and he just never really got going after that. He never got the chance to play repeatedly, which towards the end of last season, you can't blame Conte for keeping the team the way it was. I think for me, it was just a shame that Lucas was always given the nod ahead of him, because I don't think Lucas should have a future at Spurs. He's certainly a lot older. I think he turns 30 next month. Bergwijn could have been that. Like, I understand it's good money and we can use the money now to buy players that obviously Conte would prefer to have. But I just think that the way that Bergwijn plays for Holland, the way that he had played for Spurs when he was given the opportunity under Conte, I just thought there was something we could have done there. So clearly he made it obvious that he just wanted to go, and Spurs found a deal for him, because he never really made a fuss before the summer. I think Spurs knew maybe even in March or April that he was looking to leave before the World Cup was on. And I know he gave an interview in the summer where it was a bit more, I really want to go, let me get out of there. But I think Spurs were quite happy with how Bergwijn was, and it's just one of those things where it didn't really work out for him.
Okay. Dave, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who did you prefer to play on the right wing for Spurs, Bergwijn or Bale?
When? Under Mourinho? Under Mourinho? Whatever.
Anyone.
Whatever. Oh, okay.
No,
well,
not 10 years ago.
Are you talking Bale Mark II or Bale Mark 1?
Mark 2.
Question.
It's a great question, and I respect your question for that. But it's not a question though, because Bale was never fit. He was too busy down our gym getting himself ready for Wales on 160 grand a week. So it's an irrelevance, isn't it? I mean, Bale signalled his ambition for club football by going to play in America, and I think that's the end of the discussion about old GB2 or whatever his bloody fucking name is. So that's the end of that one. Nice fishing rod. I'll put it away, son. Bergwijn. Look, I think if you compare Bergwijn to Moura, Bergwijn's a better player. Bergwijn is quicker. That goal on his debut was great. The Project Restart goal against Man United, breaking at pace, not putting it away, a beauty. And obviously, the caller's recollection of his winners at Leicester away, walking down the high road, getting a hot dog stand, being, John, we've won, John, we've won. And I think Bergwijn, the problem with Bergwijn is if you remember, he got the 2 goals, and that was cracking, and it got us into the Champions League effectively. But the next game that he started was Chelsea away, when Conte decided to play 4 fullbacks, and after that we never really saw him again. So thank you, Stephen, for your service to the club. Thank you I like the imagery you used in the tweets and the Instagram message. Do you remember the car that had dust on it? And he said, "Do I feel valued?" Like it was kind of surrealist artwork from Steve, and I respect that from him. You know, better than GB posting at the golf course. So I respect you, Stephen Bergwijn. I wish you good luck. When he does half decently in the World Cup, there'll be loads of commentary about why did we let him go. But at the end of the day, is Richarlison better than Bergwijn? The answer is yes. And what it means is that we've kind of net spent 25 million on Richarlison. And Richarlison's an upgrade on Bergwijn. So that's your lot.
Irish, I'm going to come to you in a minute. That's just set the bar for your rant. Okay, are you ready? Cameron, a question for you is, do you think Bergwijn will follow Sebastian Haller out the Ajax door into someone like the Bundesliga within 2 years for a nice profit?
Yeah, look, most players are mercenaries anyway. So if he smells a good deal with a bigger club, that will give him. I think he's gonna be once bitten, twice shy here. So if he can go to a club that maybe has a requirement for his position down the right there, then yeah, I can actually see he has goals there. I think the biggest thing with Bergwijn is behind the scenes, did he have the right mentality to, whereas Lucas has shown the right mentality, Bergie hasn't, clearly, because Conte, Mourinho to an extent, Poch, they basically, he got a lot of bench time. So he didn't have that continuity there. And he did have some chances, besides obviously some of the chances we've talked about. He didn't look too good at times. He didn't feel like he had his heart in it. So, I could, if he matures probably mentally a bit, just that little bit. But, yeah, I could actually see that. But he'd stay on the continent.
Okay, Irish, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Tell us about Bergwijn. Go on, go.
Look, for me, there's no doubt there's talent there. He probably will go on and do very well at Ajax and probably move on from there very, very quickly. Probably have a good World Cup and he'd probably go on to another club and flourish. But I support Tottenham Hotspur. I could not give two flying Fs what he does at any other club he goes to after Tottenham Hotspur. I care about what he's done here. When we signed the player, we paid the transfer money. We paid the wages that he wanted. We give him the best training facilities and one of the best stadiums in the world to play in. He has not progressed since he came in. His numbers have not really been exceptional since he's been here. This is a guy that called himself that message that Dave always talking about. He called himself precious in that message. That's half of his problem. He has this inflated ego about himself. He's not even in the Tottenham team. For me, I think he's a player. I think a lot of people get excited because the moments he had off the bench against Leicester. I think that that bit of skill he done against Wolves, at the start of the season, people get really excited by that stuff. And a lot of fans, I'm not saying people on here because in fairness you've been quite fair with it, but a lot of fans try to make it out like Stephen Bergwijn was never given an opportunity. Okay, maybe the case under Conte, but that's because there was an article written by Alistair Gold about his attitude problems, but went very much under the radar because nobody wanted to talk about it. But there was stuff put out there that he did have attitude problems behind the scenes, in and around the training ground. Now, there's a reason why Lucas Moura comes off the bench before Bergwijn, and that's because his attitude is right. In order for Conte to implement what he wants to do at Tottenham, what message does it send if he's playing players with attitude problems over players whose attitudes are right and work hard every day of the week? It completely puts his message into disarray. That's why he got rid of the likes of Ndombele, Lo Celso, Ali last January. That's why Bergwijn's gone out the door this summer, because we don't want players with bad attitudes. But this is a player that under Jose Mourinho had numerous of chances down that right-hand side. And he knew he was coming into Tottenham playing on that right-hand side. People say, but he's not. He's a left winger. He wants to play out on the left. That's fine. But unless he's good enough, then then tough shit. You're going to play out on the right. It's why you signed here. You knew you were coming in here. You were never going to play ahead of Kane or Son. That right-hand spot was available. Now, the fact that Gareth Bale managed to regain full fitness, we've paid his wages and everything else to have him here, took that right-hand spot ahead of him towards the end of that season. The fact that under Nuno, he was in the team at the start, found himself out of the team very, very quickly under Nuno. Conte not given a chance. Now you have to ask, why have all three managers not trusted this guy? Why has he fallen out of favor under all three managers? And he's been given chances under Mourinho and Nuno, but why has he fallen out of the team very, very quickly? And it's because of his bad attitude. Now we can all harp on and use these misses at Liverpool as an excuse, And yeah, I get it. In football, misses happen. But 2 in a row. The guy's paid to be out on the training pitch to do finishing and stuff like that. 2 misses like that in a row should not happen if you want to play at a club like Tottenham Hotspur. You sign on the dotted line, you work hard, and you commit to it. Fans pay for broadcasting rights, his name on the back of their jerseys, tickets to go, season tickets to go to the games and everything else. Should fans have to put up with players coming in here on big wages and transfer monies we pay for and walk around with attitudes and not performing? And again, it's just another example of the poor recruitment under Steve Hitchen. Paratici has come in and undone nearly all the recruitment that Steve Hitchen done at the time. And look, I'm not sad to see the back of him. And again, his message was put out as this heartfelt message. It was 2 lines. If he'd done what he was supposed to do at Tottenham over the 2.5 years, 3 years he was here, that would be longer than 2 lines. It'd be 2-3 paragraphs. The 2 lines he put out, and it's described as a heartfelt message, sums up his career at Tottenham. He came in here with a lot of potential and never fulfilled it. And that's on him at the end of the day. The club has given him everything he wants. Wages, best training complex, stadium. And he never availed of it. He never pushed himself to get better. As a football player, you have 2 decisions to make if you're not in a manager's team. Like Matt Doherty. You're not in a team. You go away and you work hard and you take your opportunity when it's given to you, or you sulk and moan. And Bergwijn chose to sulk and moan. That was his decision. That's on him. And it's his fault that it hasn't worked out at Tottenham. We've given him everything he wanted. Everything he wanted.
Have we?
Yeah,
Have we started?
apart from attacking managers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
We don't make that excuse for Harry Kane, Kulusevski, Lucas Moura.
Yeah, you've had your time. The point being, when it comes to Mourinho, if we didn't win, one player was thrown under the bus, and it changed players. So in the 3 months or 4 months after that Liverpool defeat, suddenly we were playing Sanchez and Tanganga at centre half, with Rodon was in there because he pissed everyone else off. Mourinho kept on throwing players under the bus, did it repeatedly, and then Nuno came in, and we played well that first game, and then he got injured against Rennes and was out of the team for another 4 or 5 weeks. So, I get it. I agree with you that he wasn't what we wanted him to be, but I don't think you can sit there and say that it was all his fault. It wasn't. If you Kane and Son have played together for 6 years now, 7 years. So of course they know what they're doing. When someone comes in, it's difficult to do that if you're playing defensive football. The reason why Kulusevski was able to come in and hit the ground running is because Conte knew what he could do, and Conte wanted to use those players in an attacking sense. I think Kulusevski is a better player than Bergwijn. I just think that Bergwijn, it's quite harsh to say that we gave him everything and he gave us nothing, because what we didn't give him was managers that actually wanted to play attacking football. And as an attacker, that's quite important.
But we can't make that excuse, because we don't make that excuse.
You can't make that excuse. It's not an excuse. It's a fact.
No, you've had your time. Now it's my time. We can't make that excuse for these guys at the end of the day, right? You can,
and I just did.
1 second. I stopped speaking when you asked me to, right? At the end of the day, Kane and Son, we don't make that excuses for them. Regardless of the manager, they turn up and they perform. We don't make that excuse for Kulusevski when he comes into a new environment, young age, 21, comes in, hits the ground running. Antonio Conte's football isn't the most attacking football either. But we don't make that excuse for Kulusevski. Why?
How many goals have we scored since Conte took over? We don't play attacking football? Come on now. You're smarter than that.
We score goals, but if you look at the games, we sit back and we do a lot of counter-attacking teams. We do a lot of counter-attacking football. But we don't make that excuse for Kane, so we haven't made that excuse.
Because they played together for 6-7 years. I answered all of these when I said my piece. That's why they're very good, because they play together all the time. You're missing the point. I'm trying to say you're making excuses about having defensive managers. We don't make that for Son, Kane, Kulusevski. We don't even make that excuse for Lucas Moura. Why should we make that excuse? Lucas Moura's been crap under every manager. There's no excuse to be made there. Doesn't matter if you play defensive or attacking. He's not very good.
But I've never heard anyone make these excuses for these players before like that.
You don't think the type of manager affects how a player plays?
A good player plays in any system.
Really?
Well, I was going to add that in.
Really?
Because look at Bergie. Throughout that time where he's been at Spurs, his Netherlands goal scoring tally has been brilliant. So is it a system thing, not just like a coaching management system thing, and not just attitude? I'm just putting that out there.
What
he's been great for
hire a manager just for Bergwijn? Is that what we're supposed to do at Tottenham Hotspur? Hire a specific manager to get the best out of Stephen Bergwijn?
The manager gets the best out of every player. That's their job. It's not about one player. A manager can look at every individual player and say, "This is how I get the best out of you." You can't just be like, "Well, I don't care about these ones." What kind of manager does that? Oh, Mourinho does it, and Nuno does it, and a lot of others do it.
If the player
that's why they're not good managers anymore.
If the player doesn't want to get the best out of himself, there's only so much a manager can do.
You can't say you don't know that. You don't know that.
Attitude problems put out there in the press.
I think Sacred Cow started early. I mean, I mean, Stephen Bergwijn, right? I'd never kind of really thought that his career at Tottenham would invoke such passion about him because, his career's been a bit near. And let's not forget, Stevie B and his family had a motivational talk from Daniel Levy in All or Not Much Really, remember? When he said, you better do well now. We've worked very hard to get you in. I mean, Hitchin had to buy a player in January. We know how hard that is for him. It's interesting when we talk about attitude and this, that, and the other, and the importance of attitude, because this time last year, old Mr. Kane was flirting with Man City and playing his round of golf with Gary Neville and this, that, and the other, and talking about how Kevin De Bruyne would be perfect for him. And after maybe, he had a dodgy 2 to 3 months, we're all singing his song again. So, us fans, we're as big as tarts as anybody else, score a few goals, go and kiss the badge and run to the supporters. Harry, we love you again. All is forgiven, So I just think with Bergwijn, he's a career that we'll probably look back on him. He's a little bit Paul Walsh. He's a little bit Lewis Holtby. He's a little bit, I can't say that bloke's name. Who's the other? He's a little bit Clint Dempsey for you over in America at the moment. He's just a meh. It's a meh career. He's in that 20 to 30 million range that we're just not very good at doing. And here we are now. But I've enjoyed the debate. Thanks, Stevie. Your meh career has invoked passion on the cheese room. And that may be his biggest contribution to the club.
Indeed it is. And we are going to draw a line on that one now. We're going to move on. I'm going to start off by saying there's 217 people watching and only 52 likes. Come on, guys, that's not a very good ratio. Please, can you hit the like button for us? It helps the show, gets the show out there. And if you can subscribe, get us over that 5,000 mark. We're really, really close. That would be great. Thank you very much. Right, what are we going to talk about next? Jack Clarke. Reports today, Jack Clarke, Franco's favourite. Jack Clarke is out the door. He is off to Sunderland, where he spent last season on loan. Michael Bridge is saying it's a small fee up front, but up to 7 million, which I think is a result, to be honest, even though it costs us 10. If Levy's managed to get 7 million out of Sunderland, that's just brilliant. It has to be said, Dave. How much you loved Levy, Dave? Go on, tell us the love for 7 million for Clarke.
Of who? Jack Clarke. I mean, you're asking me to do if Jack Clarke. I can't fucking speak this morning. Jack Clarke. If I don't think we're going to manage to do a sacred cow on his career. Maybe a sacred calf, or maybe a sacred pint of milk. I mean, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, he was our first signing in a year and a half. In through the door he came, and let's not forget that deal once more. Negotiated to come in. Levy says to Poch, according to The Athletic, here's Jack Clarke. Poch says, I don't want him. And then he gets loaned back to Leeds. But because of the whole loanee system, he doesn't get to play much at Leeds. Well done, Daniel. Great deal. So, apparently he beat a few players against Moura or some other obscure European team. Got Franco all in the tizzy about him. But we'll look at his career like another Jonathan Blondell, Rowan Ricketts, Gerald McMahon, Andy Turner. And if we are now about to invoke a heated debate about the career of Jack Clarke, I'm going to be very surprised. Thank you.
Anyone got anything to say about Jack Clarke? HG?
Just that he needs game time like everyone else his age. Like if you're 18, 19, 20 and you're not playing squad game football for Spurs, then you need to be out playing full-time football for someone else. And that goes for almost all of our players in that age. If you're 19, 20 and you're regulars in our under-23 team, you need to stop being regulars there and go and play for a different club and actually play senior football. That's why, Parrott went out and did it. Harvey White's done it, but then last year didn't. And I think that will work against Harvey White. He needs to go and do that again. So for Clarke, yeah, he went out on loan a couple of times, didn't really work out for him, found a home at Sunderland, so good luck to him. But yeah, it's not worked out for him at Spurs for various reasons.
Irish, I don't know if you've watched much of Sunderland. Do you think they can get themselves promoted again up to the Premier League eventually, and Clarke might come play against us?
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
Simple answer, really, isn't it?
You're not that passionate about him, Irish.
Jack Clarke. Look, for me, I don't think he should have been brought to the club in the first place. Even when you looked at him when he made that breakthrough at Leeds, I don't understand what we've seen in him that we thought he would have been good enough for the Premier League. Look, the guy's had a few pre-seasons, had a few cup games here and there, and he just doesn't look physically up to it for me. He just doesn't look physically up to it for me. And for me, I think he's one of them players that he's been waiting to be told what to do rather than try and get it himself. Like you look at Troy Parrott. Okay, Troy Parrott, look, he's changed his ways to midway during the season with his loan with MK Dons, and he's gone on and he's being proactive about things. He's back early on the bike and stuff, doing extra preseason work. You know, he's doing extra finishing, stuff like that. And someone like that who's being proactive has more chance of getting into this Tottenham team, especially with the level of the players we're bringing in and the levels we're trying to go to under Conte. Someone like Parrott who gets it and is more proactive has a better chance of bridging the gap than what Jack Clarke ever does. Because when I look at Jack Clarke from preseason to preseason, I don't really think he's even bulked up, really put on too much muscle. He's nudged off the ball way too easy. I don't think he'll ever make it at Tottenham or he'll ever see a Premier League appearance.
Did you see any of his games at Sunderland at all?
No. But
Australia.
Yeah. HG's got the great right point there. You have to develop when the kids are like 17, 18, 19, 20. Whatever sport it may be, it's your development phase of your career. So Tottenham needs to be really careful where they send those young players to because that is the formative years. Let's be honest. Yes, Dave's got the right, like their mentality. They have to have an element of self-responsibility. They have to do things themselves. But Tottenham has to choose a club where there's a requirement for a player in that position respectively. Irrespective of what sport you play, those years are formative years. They have to build up. They need to gain game intelligence, whatever that may be. And so it's a bit of both. I can't just say it's just Jack. I also think, you got to go to a club that's going to give him a game. Let's be honest. And did he get that at Leeds? I don't think he did.
No, I don't know any of this, but you can imagine that for a boy who's from York, coming down to Spurs at 18, 19, and living by yourself and all the rest of it. I don't care how much money you've got. That takes some responsibility that most people don't have. When I was 18 or 19, I was at university. I still went home every 3 weeks to have my washing done. I mean, that's a bit pathetic, but it's true. I just did it. So I think that in those cases that he went to Sunderland. It's closer to home. He's got his family around him.
Yeah.
To me, it's not a surprise that it worked out better than the other loans. Where was he? Stoke. I mean, it's not. It's the wrong side of the country. But I hope he does well. But I think that there's such a massive gap between youth team football, whatever age, and senior football because it is serious. And for players to understand the difference, they have to go and experience it. And Spurs players, pretty much for most of the last decade, have been terrible at sending their own players out on these loans. Like Townsend has come out and said that when he was out on loan, it was just off you go, see you in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We have to understand that, and we talked about Parrott. I mean, his first year at Millwall and Ipswich was a failure. Was that him? Was that because where we sent him? No one really knows. But again, when he goes out at 18, you have to help a kid. You can't just expect them to know what to do, and you can't expect his new teammates to do it because, in theory, he's also against them. So the strikers at Millwall, they're not going to help some kid on loan from Spurs.
100%, I agree. Yeah.
So I get that. I feel like Spurs just haven't learned anything in this. So with Parrott doing it, great. If Clarke's taken his opportunity at Sunderland, fantastic. We'll get some money for him. I don't really care what the price is, but I hope for Clarke that he goes on and actually makes something in his career. Because, again, there's talent there, but he has to know when to use it, and he won't learn that playing against 18, 19-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about sometimes the player liaison officer at the club. But who's that again? Oh, that's right.
Daniel Levy's brother-in-law.
Oh, that was it. Oh, thanks for that. I just had that mental blank in my mind. That's right. And what was the basis that he got the job? Do you think? Do you think his CV? He's done lots of player liaison at lots of different clubs.
I think Alan Dixon is more player liaison for the first team at Spurs. I don't think he cares about the young players that go out. I don't think that's his job. We should have a loans manager that does that.
He's ex-army. He's security based.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to move it on. HG, I'm going to bring you into this one. If we sell Clarke, where are we at with our homegrown players? He's 20 at the moment, so he doesn't count, is my understanding. Is that correct, HG?
No, he's 21. And for this
21
season,
in November. 21 in November. I just looked it up. No, yeah, right. He's 21. You're right. You're right.
He's 21. Okay. So look, for this season, he would count as an over 21 player. So he would count as homegrown. I think we had 11 if you include him. I mean, he hasn't left yet, but so we've got 11 who are over 21 and count as homegrown. Most of them don't really have a chance of playing in the first team that often because you've got Winks and Tanganga. Roden is there. I mean, we're talking about Premier League homegrown. So yes, it could become a problem, but I think for this season it's more when it comes to the Champions League rules because they have their homegrown split into club grown and association grown, and it's a bit more complicated. But I think that right now we have 11 who are considered 21 and up. If Clarke goes, it's 10. If Winks goes, it's 9. I mean, I can do the counting for you, but I don't think it's as big an issue as people are making out because. Okay, if we go into a Champions League squad and we only have a squad of 24 players instead of 25, well, okay, it's 6 games. Do you know what I mean? Like to me, it's like it could be 8, it could be 10, but the whole point of having that squad, if you've got 24 players and you can rotate, then that means players, 17, 18, and 19 are going to play the Premier League game against a lower ranked team than the Champions League game if you're going to have to rotate it. So if we buy Spence, that counts as another. So I understand that people think about it, but I just don't think it's a massive problem numbers wise, but it might be a problem quality wise. Because as I said, most of our homegrown players, Sessegnon is another one, they're not guaranteed starters. I think it is really only Kane that counts as a guaranteed starter. Everyone else is a possible or backup goalkeepers times 2.
Irish. He mentioned Winks there. There's been talks of Leicester are interested in Winks apparently. And even the possibility of Maddison coming the other way. Can you see Leicester wanting Winks?
I mean, whatever they're on, give me some of it, to be honest with you. I mean, it sounds like a good drug. Look, I think everybody knows my feelings on Weeks. Just in case there's any Leicester fans listening, I think he's absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? He can hit 30, 40-yard balls like you've never seen before. No, look, when it comes to Winks, and look, I think it's the same with Ndombele. I think it's the same with Lo Celso. I actually think we're struggling to offload these players. I really do believe that. I think we're struggling to garner any sort of real interest in them whatsoever. With Winks, I mean, honestly, in what world does Leicester want Winks and they're going to give us Maddison the other way? It's just never going to happen. Their fans were going to absolute meltdown. It was only a couple of seasons ago where they were on level par with us. Then they're not too far off us right now. They make another couple of shoot signings. They can pick up and go again. So for me, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think that's something just put out there just to keep the fan base happy and keep people jumping up and down. And I think the reason why I just back myself up, I think, look, the reason why we're struggling to offload these players is because our transfer market is starting to slow down a little. It was always going to happen. We were getting in players at a quick rate. But we're now at a position with that homegrown thing that we have too many players around this squad. So we have to start thinning it out before we can bring in players again. Because if we don't, then we're stuck with players that aren't registered on big, massive money, like the likes of an Ndombele and stuff. And it's not ideal for the finance of this football club. So for me, I think we're putting these players out there for sure. I'm just not sure there's the interest. I mean, if I'm a manager, I'm not sitting there and going, I have a massive problem in midfield, whether it's, challenging, getting competitive in there or getting a ball playing midfielder. I would never turn around and say, do you know what? Harry Winks is the man to sort that out for me. Just wouldn't. I just don't. There's no interest in the guy, in my opinion.
I mean, the point that George makes here, if I just put it up, that they've got Chowdhury instead. But I get it. Chowdhury is covering midfield. To me, I think they would look at that and say that Winks is an improvement on Chowdhury and that he's a better player and they're improving their depth. So I understand Chowdhury is there, but I've never seen Chowdhury and thought there's a Premier League player in the making. whereas Winks has played Premier League regularly, and if the system is right, I think it can work for him. So everyone knows I don't like Brendan Rodgers and I don't think much of him. But if he's decided that if he's decided that Winks is worth the money, then Brendan, you're turning, you're doing well. But no, it's a weird one. Everyone is trying to improve, whether it's squad depth or first team or whatever. They're all trying to do it, and I think there are Premier League teams that would look at Winks and say he does improve what we have, even if it's just as an option. It still improves them. Southampton could do with him. Palace could do with him. Like, he's not going to come in and play every game for them, but those clubs are trying to improve so that they don't have a best 11 and that they can do what the rest of us are doing. Like, if you're going to have 9 subs in every game in the Premier League, you're going to want to make sure that those 9 subs are Premier League quality. I don't think Chowdhury is. I think Winks probably could be for someone. So, yeah, let's hope that someone that takes the bait. But yeah, I agree with Dave, Irish Dave. He's not a wonderful player, but I do think he's better than Chowdhury in the example given in the comments.
Okay, so Cam, I'll come to you. Obviously, it wouldn't be a straight swap. We'd have to pay a fair bit of money, but would you take Maddison?
Yes, definitely. As an attacking midfielder, I would. On position, yes. Locally born. I don't know if Maddison was a gunner, though, so I'm not too happy with that. If he was a gunner as a kid, I'm not 100% sure. But yes, I would. I know he's gone off the boil the last probably season or two from my understanding. I like the cut of his jib. I would take him in. I think Conte would grab him by the inner man and actually make him function again. But we do need that AM role. There's no question. I thought a few weeks ago we'd get Eriksen in, but Oracle HG said he's going to United. He was correct. He's subsequently gone to United. So I think he's coming off the bench at United with Bruno ahead of him, I think. But, yeah, I'll take in Maddison. Definitely. We need an attacking midfielder. Don't know if he's the right one, but, yeah, definitely.
Hang on. To quote Caller, hang on. You like the cut of his jib? Are you really in Australia? Australians don't say that.
I lived over in your motherland for 5 years, so...
Cameron, you went to Eton, didn't you, with Johnson and all that lot, didn't you? Come on, drop the accent, Cameron. I mean, you put cheese on your hot dog on election day. I mean, what's all that about? Sorry, come on, give us your real accent, Cameron.
All right, mate. No, I'm born and bred down here, so I've got a British passport, so yes, but not from Eden.
Deary me.
Right, I'm good. We're going to send Davo to sleep now because we have to discuss this man, I'm afraid.
God almighty. This is the footballing equivalent of Guantanamo Bay. When they play Metallica for 10 hours. I confess.
Irish, what's going on with Spence?
Do you know what? Someone made a comment in my section there last night, and it was a great comment. It was like, seems very much along like the Tomiyasu thing where it's dragging out. Spurs are a few million away, etc., and all of a sudden Romero came in out of nowhere. Now, Paratici is back and forth between Italy and England. What's he doing? What is he doing? So for me, I wouldn't be surprised to see something come way out of left field. We've done it with the Christian Eriksen thing, and then all of a sudden Basuma's announced. So Paratici has a history of this. So it wouldn't surprise me if something else comes out of left field altogether. But look, when it comes down to Jed Spence, I don't mind us, even if it is true that we are a couple of million away. I have no problem with us negotiating on this. Jed Spence has come out himself and said, my preferred destination is Tottenham. And for me, I think Tottenham need to get the best price for this club. We can't keep overpaying for some of these youngsters coming in here. Like we done it with Jack Clarke, 10 million. I think we overpaid on that. I already said I don't think he should have been here in the first place. So I don't mind us hanging out, negotiating, getting the best deal for our club, because at the end of the day, Middlesbrough are waiting on the money off us so they can conduct their transfer business this summer. So, the longer we make them wait, eventually they're going to sucker in and go to more our price on things. And look, it's a gamble. That's the only thing I will say about Jed Spence. It's a gamble. I like the kid. He's come from nowhere, helped Nottingham Forest get promoted to the Premier League, which took them a long time. He's got into the England under-21. He's up a rapid rise, and England have produced a lot of good right backs and right wing backs over the last 5-10 years. A hell of a lot of decent ones. So is he another one on that production line? I'm not sure. But for me, you look at Kyle Walker, Danny Rose. We got them in younger than Spence, of course. but loan them out, and then look what they went on to achieve either side in the fullback positions for Tottenham. So for me, I wouldn't be crying if we got Jed Spence in. I think every window you're always going to sign one or two players that are for their future, regardless of your manager. Liverpool do it, City do it. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but is it ideal with what we've got there at the minute? Probably not. I would like to see us go out and get a more established right wing back, but hey, I'm not opposed to Jed Spence coming in.
Can I ask a question? Because I was on a plane all day yesterday, so I keep on seeing comments about these add-ons that Middlesbrough apparently want. I don't know what they are, but like I just think back to the whole Matty Cash thing when he joined Villa. They paid what, 14 million for him, and then Spence went, I think, to Forest and basically replaced him in the end. But I just think that's kind of the going fee for someone who's only played Championship football and done pretty well. So I don't know what the add-ons that Middlesbrough want. If someone in the comments can say, or if you guys can say, I'd love to know what they are.
I don't think we know the specifics, but from what I've read, Middlesbrough seem to be changing the goalpost, which is a very Daniel Levy-esque thing. And Steve Gibson's been around a long time and known Levy for a long time, so he's probably quite happy to play that game.
Yeah.
Knowing they've got two top right wing backs, haven't they? So they're in no rush to sell, but they will obviously sell him. And I think we're probably quite happy to wait as long as we have to in the window.
But hasn't the player been away with England under 23s or something, or he's on holiday?
21s,
so,
yeah.
21s, yeah. So has that a reason why the actual deal's strung out as long as it has because he's been physically away?
No, you're wrong. He was away with the England under 10s, and it's taken 13 years to get to where we are now.
Yeah, look, the international duty and obviously him being on holidays probably would have delayed an announcement if we got the deal agreed, but I don't think it would have dragged out the negotiations.
He's been on jury duty of a three-year trial.
The issue is, like, if everyone's talking about the homegrown thing, like, it appears that Spence is the only homegrown player that we're apparently after this summer. Because, as Irish Hotspur said, like, Maddison thing is not real. It's not happening. So maybe Middlesbrough thinking, you know what, we can play hardball here more than you. I don't know. Like, maybe we'll need him more than. It's just a weird one, because you think the player is like, I want to go, and yeah, it's up to the people making those decisions to decide, you know, how and when it's going to happen. But it doesn't help anyone really to have it go on this long. So considering we've done quite well financially when it comes to the deals we've made this summer, if it's just a couple of million, I kind of think, yeah, let's just get it done.
Well, Dave's favourite Levy's handling it, so yeah, we'll see.
Well, as I was on the show 2 weeks ago, right? And I said then, imagine the Middlesbrough director of football. It's Friday, 4 p.m. The car draws up. It's Tottenham's car. You're expecting the flamboyant Italian to come out, and out walks Lord Voldemort, and his heart sinks. He rings his wife. I won't be seeing you this weekend, darling. Levy's turned up. And here we are 2 weeks later. Has anyone seen the Middlesbrough director of football in the last 2 weeks? We need to stand with him. We stand with him. God almighty, just get the deal done, for God's sake, or not. It's so painful.
In Levy's defence, he was apparently leading the Everton deal, negotiations with Everton for Richarlison.
It just feels like an excuse to go and have dinner with various chairmen. You know what I mean? Like, there's the rumour that he was seen having dinner with Ken Wright, and they put the deal on a flipping napkin or who knows what. But maybe Steve Gibson's just wanting an invite to the Ivy, and Levy hasn't ponied up yet. So it's like, okay, well, we'll wait a bit until it happens. It seems like, in this case, with Gibson and Levy being such good friends and both being football chairmen for a very long time, that it's almost just like, I'm gonna mess around with you because I can, and that's it.
Well,
and both of them are doing it.
If they're such good friends, why don't they go orienteering on a weekend or something like that? You know.
Maybe they do. Maybe you just don't know about it, Dave.
Honestly, just get it done. It's just, I mean, what other long-running sagas have we had? Moutinho.
Do you remember the sign of Vertonghen? Vertonghen, they didn't announce it for months and months. But actually, he said he was at our last home game of the season and got into the lift, and Harry Redknapp went past, and obviously Harry Redknapp was about to get sacked. And Harry Redknapp didn't even know Vertonghen was being signed, but they didn't announce it for another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they announced Vertonghen the day or so around when Redknapp got the flick. I think
Okay.
a bit of
Been dragged out.
Levy machinations once more. Sack Mourinho, European Super League. There's no flies on Lord Levy.
Anyway, right.
Moving on.
Richarlison has got a one-match ban and £25,000 fine for chucking the flare back in the fans at Everton in the win over Chelsea. Which, to be fair, if you score against Chelsea, he shouldn't be banned just for that alone. Is this fair, Dave? Dave-O.
I reckon, one of the home supporters base lost an item in their possession and he was giving it back to them. It's kind of a caring individual for the club's fans. Has Zuma been banned for kicking a cat? No. He just waved the flare around. Typical FA against Tottenham bias. Anyway, I'm genuinely very excited about the Richarlison signing. It's a proper, let's get the best player of a team that hasn't done very well, like your Chrissy Waddles back in the day. Go out, buy him, paid the money. I'm genuinely very excited about him. He's an upgrade on Stevie B, and I wish we're not talking about him anymore, Irish, just to be clear. And, it's a joke of a decision. But, typical FA against us. But it's only one game. Put her feet up and then come on for the second game. Jobs are good, isn't it?
What's your thoughts on Richarlison as the signing?
I'm actually happy with it. I think it's been our most longest neglected problem at this club, bringing in quality backup for Harry Kane. That is more to Harry Kane's quality than any other player we've had in the past. I mean, we've tried to do the cheap option and bringing in Carlos Vinicius. It didn't work out. Look, if we're being real, he scored one goal of note in the Premier League, and that was a tap-in inside the 6-yard box against Aston Villa. We had Vincent Janssen. I mean, I'm faster than that guy. I'm about 5 stone overweight. And then you also have Llorente. He actually done a decent enough job, to be fair, but he was coming to the tail end of his career. But we're now getting a player in his prime or ready to go into his prime, Premier League proven, scores goals. He turned up when it mattered most, so he's a man for the big occasion. For Everton, he scored 6 in his last 9, and most of his goals came when they changed and brought in Frank Lampard. So for me, I think we're getting in a player that as well. He's very aggressive. You look at Jesus for Arsenal. Now, look, I know he done well for them today in pre-season, but is he a player that can lead the line, especially when they go and get stuff? No, he's more of a player that needs people to feed him. Richarlison is a player that can lead the line. He can hold up the ball. He's strong. He's aggressive. He'll win your free kicks. He can also go in behind. But he's also got that bit of doggedness in him, where he gets tick. Next thing he uses that anger to beat 2-3 players, smack one in the top corner. But as well, he gives you the option. He's very good at attacking the ball when it comes into the box. So when you're playing against the likes of Brighton or Brentford, where we had no answers to break them down, you've now got Perisic, who has a great delivery. Get the ball out wide, get it into the box, get Richarlison on, let him go and attack it. And for me, if Kane's out, Richarlison's there. He can also play where Son is. And it provides competition for places. I think it'll give Son, you hear the way he's talking now about world class. He's going to come into this season raring to go. Kane will be extremely unhappy. He did not win that golden boot last year. He'll go in there, all guns blazing. Richarlison has been back to be Brazil's number 9 going into World Cup. He will have a point to prove. Kulusevski will also have a point to prove. Is it a one-season wonder or half a season wonder? Can he do it again? So we have attacking players there at our disposal where everyone will be raring to go. Everyone will be delighted with the competition. And I really like Richarlison. For me, he's been one of my favourite players in the Premier League outside of anyone from Tottenham Hotspur. And I really like what this kid is about. Look, he's done it at Watford, he scored goals. Done it at Everton, scored goals, both kind of sort of relegation teams. Let's see if he can make the step up to Tottenham. Do I think we overpaid? Maybe slightly. I would have liked to see that feed down a little bit. But at the end of the day, we've also always said, if you want your target, you've got to pay the money. And the fact that Chelsea come in late, he still had 3 years out in his contract, that was up in the price. And at the end of the day, we paid the money, we got him in, and I think he'll deliver goals.
Cameron, you want to say something?
No, look, I think he's a functional add-on. Initially, I was against Richarlison, particularly for the money that was actually being said. And obviously, I do think we've overpaid, so I agree with Dave there. But I think coming off the bench and as a functional part within the squad, he gives us that attacking flair and that attacking flair that we've missed, and his versatility you can't question. Something where I think having those added strings to his bows going forward than just a number 9 will help us. And there's going to be injuries, let's be honest. The amount of games this season, you're going to get players tired. There will be injuries. So as a functional add-on, yes. Have we paid too much? Slightly, yes. I still think we need one more. I think we need a pure 9 for a pure backup, because I love the competition for places. I think Davo's mentioned this previously, but you need competition for players to keep players refreshed and mentally motivated, because if they know that they've got that position there, if they can mentally kick back because they don't have that motivation to keep their spot. So, yeah, I do want one more player, 9, but Richarlison definitely adds to our squad, 100%.
But you also, just quickly, you also look at the likes of Liverpool and City. There's a reason why they're going for quadruples every single season. Look at the money they spent on Jota. Look at the money they spent on Diaz. But they still get plenty of minutes to make an impact. And that's what we need to get to at Tottenham. Look, I'm not even getting into a Bergwijn and Lucas debate, right? I'm not getting into it. But like at the end of the day, you need to look at that bench and you need to have players, especially for the manager, that he can believe in, that fans can believe in, that you look on the bench and you're like, he can change the game. And we need to get to that point at Tottenham. We shouldn't be looking at the bare bones on our bench. Look, no disrespect to the two twins. I'm not having a go at them. They shouldn't be on our bench right now. The Craig twins should be nowhere near the bench. We should have players like Richarlison, whether it like a Basuma, even whether he starts or not. We should have options like that. If you want to go and compete in all the cups, that's what we need here. Conte also got 2 draws out of Klopp last season with a Tottenham team that bare bones. Man City twice, Tottenham team, bare bones. He has their number tactically. Give him the players, give him the options, and let's have a good go at this Premier League. And that's what we're doing by bringing in someone like a Richarlison. I'm happy with it.
Thanks, Jay. I was going to ask, you've not been on for a while, and when you were last on, I think Richarlison was very vaguely linked with this, and most Spurs fans were quite anti it. Obviously, given a bit of time, people are liking the idea. Now we've signed him, they seem to be very happy, especially given the reaction of Everton fans who clearly love this guy. What's your view on him?
I don't really remember what I said, which is weird. I don't want to contradict what I said before. I have a feeling I wasn't massively enthralled by it. I think probably similar to what Cam said. It wasn't necessarily the fee. I think the fee is probably par for the course when you're buying a team's best player. Everton are never going to sell him on the cheap. And he was their best player, and he basically kept them up. I think I was very surprised that Everton were willing to sell. Clearly, they needed the money more than I understood at the time. But he is a true number 9. As much as Kane is that, everyone calls him a 9.5, right? Because he can do both roles. Richarlison is that true number 9. Maybe the 9 that Kane was when he first started coming through. We were pressing high up the pitch, and Kane put himself about a bit more than he does now. Obviously, his ankle injuries have slowed him down a little bit, and that's not the game he wants to do. But for Richarlison, that is his game. So I have a feeling that we could see that the two of them playing together quite a lot, with Kane being the one to drop deep and Richarlison the one to run the channels, if that was needed to happen. I think if you look at the skill sets that Kulusevski has and Kane has and Son has, Richarlison has one that none of them have, and I think that's got to be a massive asset for Spurs and how we want to play every game. Because as we've seen, unless you are the best teams in the country, you can't beat everyone playing the same football. And I think Conte realizes that maybe Spurs, we're not there yet. We're unlikely to go on the run that Chelsea did when he won the title with them. So he needs to have a few different things a few different clubs in his golf bag. That's an awful thing to say, but kind of along that. And Richarlison provides it. And so I'm 50 million, what is it, plus add-ons. Who knows what the add-ons are? Like if it's Levy, the add-ons are like winning the Champions League 3 times in a row and playing 500 games for Spurs without a break. But I think 50 million is probably fair. And for Everton, they clearly needed it. And maybe, I hate the phrase special relationship, but you'd think that if we've done them a solid, maybe they will try and do the same back for us at some point when they're in a position to do so. Because there are lots of similarities between us and Everton. Everton are probably 5 to 10 years behind us now if they follow through with what it looks like they're going to try and do with building the stadium and getting a younger team. But it's Spurs have become the team to we are now a club that will poach other teams' best players, and we're looking at late 80s since that ever happened. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going.
But at Everton, wasn't Calvert-Lewin the 9 there? Forgive me if I'm wrong.
When he was fit, Calvert-Lewin used to play more central. Like I would rather see Richarlison play central. I think out wide it's a bit wasted. Like he wants to be involved, he wants to make life difficult for defenders, and you need that. But crucially, he has the quality as well, right? He's not just going to run around and make a nuisance of himself. He's good on the ball. We can play players in, and we need quality more than anything else. Like players that work hard, yes, they're great, but they need to know what they want to do with the ball. And if you look at Richarlison, like some of his goals are left foot, right foot headers. He can do it all. He's not a passer like Kane is, but for a central striker, I think I'd prefer him over Calvert-Lewin. Yeah.
I love how aggressive he is as well. If you look at some of the players we've signed, Perisic can be aggressive, Richarlison aggressive. You look at Romero aggressive, Suma well able to handle himself. We're looking to bulk up as a team. We're looking to be nasty, be aggressive. But at the end of the day, look, in sport, nice guys finish last, and that's just the way it is. You need to have that sort of aggressiveness, that shithousery, and that's what Richarlison brings to this team. And I think at times that front line will benefit from it.
Maybe Richarlison is the Nick Kyrgios of the Premier League.
Yay! Just going to bring this one back up. Put this to all four of you. Who do you think will score more this season? I'm going to go League and Cup, so all competitions. Kulusevski or Richarlison? Davo, you go first.
Lucas Moura. I think Richarlison will score more.
Dan?
Kulusevski.
1-1. Irish.
I'm going to go Richarlison.
HG.
I would agree with Richarlison. Yeah, Kulusevski has it in him, but I think Richarlison will do it.
HG has gone with the David Harris block. Will John go?
When you look at Kulusevski, though, I think he's the sort of player that's more happy to assist than take the headlines. Where you look at Richarlison, I think he wants the headlines more than happy to assist someone.
Well, Adrian's brought another one in. Who's going to get more bookings, Romero or Richarlison? So I'm going to say Romero on that one.
John, you didn't answer the previous question, mate.
I'm going to go Kulusevski just to be awkward.
I think Kulusevski already knows the system. I think there's going to be an injury up front there. I actually think he's got multiple strings to play in a couple more positions. I actually think he'll start more games than Richarlison, and that's my simple reasons as to why. I think Richarlison will score many goals, but I'll stick with Kulu.
If you look at the goals that Kulusevski did score, specifically the ones I'm thinking of, the Leeds away and the Norwich away on the final day, like that's a player that can put the ball in the net. If he cuts inside, he can find either corner quite comfortably. And I think you're right that maybe it's not in his brain that he can do that as well as he can. And I quite like the fact that he's always looking for the goal against Leicester that Son scored, where he cut inside and just played a very simple ball to Son. I think that is more Kulusevski. That's kind of what he's looking to do more than try and find the bottom corner. If he becomes a bit more selfish in that way, then he'll score a lot of goals for Spurs. I've no doubt about that. But I think with Richarlison, his old demeanour is I want to score. And
there's games that Conte is going to actually stop Kane from playing. He'll have to. I can't see. Yeah. So I actually can see that it's a positional thing then if Richarlison goes to the 9. I can see both ways, but I'm just going to be different and go Cooley.
Be interested to see what happens.
This is a good comment, sorry, from Kerry. I mean, it could happen, right? Like if we're chasing a goal, more likely, but if it could happen that we decide that Kane will drop deep and then we'll have Kulusevski on one side and Son on the other with Richarlison as the main man, kind of as the battering ram, let's say. So I don't know if we'll see it very often, but I do think we will see it and we could see it and that it would work. It depends a lot, I think, in that case, of the wide players staying wide. And I think that's why Kulusevski was so good when he came in, is that by hugging that touchline, it allowed players like Doherty and Emerson Royal and whoever was playing there to actually get into the box. Whereas I just don't think Lucas did that as well. And quite often the fullbacks and Lucas were kind of in the same spaces. But yeah, Richarlison, I mean, what a great discussion to have. Like bearing in mind this time last year, we were talking about, what if Kane gets injured, we're screwed. And now we're talking about we've got, a fair few players and Lucas who could come on and score.
Shall we
Where's
discuss
Lucas
this
going to
question?
play? Sorry.
We'll come to Lucas in a minute. Sacred cows in a minute, Cam. Hold your horses. Or hold your cows. Supposedly the club told Doherty that he can leave. What do you think of this? What do you guys think of this? Irish, I've seen this in a couple of times in the comments. I don't know if you've heard this today. I hadn't.
Yeah. I have heard. I've seen it today. I'm not sure how true it is. It's something that you might see more reported on over the next couple of days. What do I think on it? Again, I'm going to be slightly harsh. Look, I think with Doherty, the only real decent period he's had in the Tottenham jersey has been that 6-7 game stint under Conte. And that's what a lot of fans are basing maybe keeping Doherty on. For me, look, I like the way that he was out of the team. He's gone away. He's worked hard and he took his opportunity. I like that. I think Conte might keep him around just for that. But look, for me, I wouldn't mind cashing in and going and getting somebody better, if I'm being honest. I've watched Doherty for Ireland as well. He's very, very sloppy on the ball. He's played right wing back for Ireland. He's played left wing back at times. He's been very, very sloppy on the ball for Ireland a hell of a lot of the times. And he's had a lot of bad games in his Spurs jersey as well. I know he's had a few good, but for me, his bad games outweigh his good games. I think he's had a lot more bad than what he has good at this in this Tottenham team. And for me, I wouldn't be opposed to letting him go just because he's Irish. I'm not going to sit here and brown nose him. At the end of the day, I love Tottenham Hotspur. If he's not good enough, get him gone. Look, a lot of players that have been here over the last couple of years, a lot of players that Steve Hitchen brought in, I'll be honest, it's been one of the Spurs squads I've probably hated the most, but loved it the most because of the likes of Kane, Son and Lloris. And I'm glad to see them sort of players go who brought us down into these times where we're in Europa Conference League and, losing to the likes of NS Moura. It's embarrassing. Electricians during the day and football players at night, and we're going out being slapped by them, and there's players out there that are on 200 grand a week. Stuff like that should never happen. I'm glad to see a lot of this squad being rotated. Artici undoing a lot of what Steve Hitchen done. Players out the door and bringing in players that are more to the level of what they should be when they're playing for a club as big as Tottenham Hotspur.
HG, do you think one of the reasons might be going is because of the homegrown quota, possibly? It would make sense for Spence to come in, although would you be happy with Spence and Emerson's as our right wing-back choices for next season?
Probably not. Like I think I said at the end of last season, I like Doherty in a 5. I think we've always said that we like Doherty in a 5, and it took Conte to come before we even saw it. I think Doherty, being the experienced player that he is in that system, and the fact that we saw him play really well, would be a really good choice to be your rotation option. I thought that we would go out and get a high quality right wing back, and I don't think Spence is that. He may well become that, but I thought if we were going to go and get Spence, then great. We can loan him out and he'll get some time. But I just think that we should be looking for a better wing back than either Doherty or Spence. Spence might become it. I just haven't seen it personally from the times I saw him at Forest, which admittedly wasn't that much. But so Doherty, even when he came on and played left wing back, he was quite good. We went to the Newcastle game, John, and I think he played left wing back in that game and scored a goal and created one for Emerson. It's a weird day when those two both score.
Yeah.
But I have nothing against Doherty. I just think that in a back 4, I mean, the Wolves fan told us this when we signed him. In a back 4, he's dodgy, and in a 5, he's pretty good. And it took us 18 months to really see that because we didn't play a back 5 until then.
Yeah.
Kevin?
Oh, look, I think it'd be a bit harsh. I think he was the whipping boy for all Spurs fans early on. But that's prior to his knee injury. Let's be honest, he was showing some green shoots there. There was actually a bit of hope there. He started scoring goals. So it would be harsh. I understand both arguments. That right wing back position's a pain in the ass for us, but I'll keep him on as a backup and get a far higher quality right wing back because he started showing stuff, and he would get opportunities in Europe and other cup comps if we did keep him. So I would keep him. I don't know if that's real or not, that rumor. So I don't know.
I think the weird thing is, like, we all know that Conte took Victor Moses and made him into a title-winning wing-back. Yeah. So if there are hard-working wingers out there looking for a job, they may well get one, because we keep on being linked with the Dharma, which is just odd to me.
Oh, no.
But I know it's another thing, but that's kind of where we are. Like, if Conte doesn't think that we have the attacking credentials in a wing-back position, then maybe some hard-working winger could become that for Spurs. I've seen someone talked about earlier about Jack Harrison. I know that Anthony Gordon's been mentioned at coming into Spurs. Those are the kind of hard-working players that, at a pinch, they've never proven it in that position, but they are more attacking than defending. And maybe Conte wants that. But it's weird because Doherty finally has shown something for Spurs. We've got the system that he's always worked best in.
100%.
And I find it strange that we would say you can go unless we've got someone extremely good to come in.
I agree.
Go on, Nosh.
I'm just going to say quickly, as it stands, we shouldn't be letting him go if it stands with the options we have. But if there's someone better lined up, we got to get him go. But just a couple of things there when listening. We're talking about waiting 18 months for him to finally show up. We should not have to wait this long on players at Tottenham Hotspur to get out there and represent that jersey with some sort of pride. We should not have to be waiting this long.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, but formationally, probably HG was right. I think he was playing his dodgy at a 4, but great at a 5.
I get that.
It was a defensive 4 as well. I mean, it was the worst kind of thing for Doherty, and we did it repeatedly. Like when we signed him, I think we were all excited because we'd spent 6 months seeing Aurier basically play as a winger, and Davies was the left back that would cut inside, and Doherty was going to be that guy. And then suddenly it was like, no, we're going to play 8 at the back and have Son and Kane do all the attacking, and that was basically the system under Jose for 6 months. So it's strange. Like I get Irish's point that obviously players need to come in and show that they care, which I don't think people thought that about Doherty. But it's just it's like watching someone try and play football in quicksand. If they don't know what they're doing, they will struggle. And Doherty at Wolves was awful in a back 4 and looked great in a back 5. It amazes me that Nuno didn't do that when he came in, because it would have made perfect sense for everyone. But at some point, like there aren't many players that can come in and say, I will play and be just as good no matter what system you tell me to do. The reason why the Ajax players are usually so good in various positions is because they're taught to do that when they come through their system. But Spurs don't do that with our players.
Well, Tanganga has said they all had to play all the positions in the academy.
Okay.
Tanganga said that in interviews. Obviously not to the standard that Ajax do.
But that's horrendous in a development sense. That is utterly... Like, you'd want to be a master of one and not just okay at all. You'd want to actually master simply one first, and then from the confidence develop on to another position. Sure.
I think it's from an Ajax point of view, it's more to do with understanding what that role means. Okay, so they see you deep down as being, if Frankie de Jong is a defensive midfielder or a ball-playing midfielder, that's what you're going to be. But if you're in the position where, whether it's the counter-attack or whatever, and you find yourself playing right back, that you know what to do, that you have some kind of experience of playing in that way. I don't think Ajax look at all their players and say, you're a right back, but you could be our centre forward if we need you to be. But I do think that they understand that, football. What is it that Cruyff said? Like, football is a game that you play with you use your legs, but you play with your head. It's that kind of thing that hopefully Spurs will get right at some point. But yeah, it's going to take a number of years. If we're doing that in the youth system now, I don't look at Oliver Skip and think, oh, there's our number 10. But we all watch football, so we all know what makes a good number 10. We all know what makes a decent defensive fullback. And so I find it weird that players don't seem to know that. But again, maybe they are focused on the one thing that they need to be good at, and that's it.
The reason why I get so frustrated at some of these players, and maybe it might clear up a bit where I come from towards some of these players, is when they came from wherever they were playing as a youth player into whatever academies they were getting into, and right the way through. They've played under different managers, different systems, and some of them have completely changed positions as well. And it just seems to me that when they get to the senior level, money becomes involved, Do they want to try as hard, etc., etc.? You know, I'm not so sure, but it wasn't an excuse for them to make it, to be able to get to that professional level and start signing that contract, start signing them big contracts. They would have played in multiple of positions as a youngster. But yet, when it comes to the senior team, all of a sudden, you can play a right back, but you can't play a right wing back. Right wing back, there's just less responsibilities than at right back. I mean, it's sort of this. It's sort of the same position. You just have a few less defensive responsibilities. But like, if he's playing right wing back, he should know how to defend in the first place. So playing right back shouldn't be really that much of a problem for him. And I guarantee you it wasn't a problem when he was playing at Bohemians over here in Ireland. It wasn't a problem for him then. And this is where I get frustrated with some of these players. It's because in order to get to professional ranks, many different managers, systems, and positions, no problem, busted the gut. The difference is they were hungrier back then than what they are when they get the big contracts. That's where I come from with it.
All right. Shall we? I just want to move this on. This guy, William Kelly, big up, William, for giving us a super chat earlier. We didn't get to because we were in the middle of that conversation about Doherty. Richarlison will be our Diego Costa. My only issue with this, didn't Conte text Costa to tell him he didn't want him anymore? So hopefully that won't happen. But thank you very much, William, for the super chat. Right, I think we need to come to Dave's favourite part. There it is. Look at that beautiful sacred.
Here we go.
JP has been busy. So for the first one, so let's explain the rules. We've got a subject that Davo has picked, 3 subjects, and there's 2 minutes, one person for and one person against the particular subject. The first subject is Mr. Harold Redknapp, and speaking for, I believe, is Irish and against his HG. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah?
I think so. My part, yeah.
I think HG got stitched up with this one. So, Irish.
Have you got the timer ready, or do you want me to?
I've got my phone is ready. Irish, are you ready? And I'll give you a countdown.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Right. Give us 2 minutes on Harry Redknapp. Go.
Yeah, ultimately, I think Harry Redknapp was a good piece of business by Tottenham. Look, when he came in, he took over a One Day Ramos team. Yes, One Day Ramos won us our last trophy, but at the end of the day, we were down in the relegation in the league campaign. Harry Redknapp came in, took over, the right man in terms of he'll install confidence into these players. And for me, I think he done a very good job. He ended up getting us to Europa League that season and then backed it up. He was also behind the return of Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, back to the club as well. Done some very shrewd business. And then ultimately signed Peter Crouch. And what happened? He scored a winner against Man City to help us get into the promised land, the Champions League. I think ultimately what his downfall was him probably twerking for the England job. But at the end of the day, overall, I think he done a very good job at Tottenham. And plus, at the time, we had a sort of soft centre. He brought in Wilson Palacios to just go around and take people down all day. He sorted that problem, no problem at all. He also got the very best out of Gareth Bale. For me, I think he probably ended up contributing massively to the career that Gareth Bale had. The guy was on a streak of 22 games without a win. Harry Redknapp also changed Gareth Bale's position from left back to left mid or left wing, and he went on and flourished. So for me, I think Harry Redknapp all around, very, very great manager, very, very good manager for Tottenham Hotspur. Plus, he was engaging with the fans. You know, he knew what was going on in the transfer window. One of the January transfer windows, he brought in 5 players. When has that happened at Tottenham Hotspur in the January transfer window? It would only happen under Harry Redknapp.
1 minute 40. Well done, Irish. All right, let me just reset. HG, are you ready to counter the Harry Redknapp argument?
Is there actually a clock in this? Okay, fine. Yeah, like I mean,
yeah.
I
2 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go.
Harry Redknapp,
go.
Brilliant talker. That's it, really, isn't it? I mean, he got a wonderful. he got a wonderful squad at Spurs. I mean, a lot of what Irish says is correct. Right, he took over a team that had sold their 2 best strikers, had no one left, and he galvanised them to a few wins before he could go out and spend a fortune in the January buying Keane and Defoe and Palacios and all the others that he bought. Redknapp knows how to construct a team, but that's about it. I mean, that's a lot, but that is about it. When it came to getting Spurs over the line, that season where we finished 4th and Chelsea, knocked us out of the Champions League, we should have never been 4th. That should have never happened. But Redknapp is the reason why it didn't happen. Redknapp is all about Redknapp, and that's why I can't ever really see him as a Tottenham legend. Redknapp fathered Jamie Redknapp. That should be enough, frankly. But, we're talking about, Irish talked about, Gareth Bale finding a new position. Gareth Bale was almost out to Birmingham City under Redknapp. Redknapp had no idea how to use him. He thought that Modric wasn't good enough to play central midfield and played him on the left-hand side. He didn't think Suarez was good enough to play in the Premier League. Like, Redknapp is very much 4-4-2, big man, short man, off you go. That's about the level of it. He was very good at that, but that is about all it was. So I know that people love him because he spoke his mind, and I love Martin Jol because he spoke his mind. But when Martin Jol spoke his mind, there was intelligence behind it. And when Harry Redknapp spoke his mind, it was just whatever was there. I don't think there was any thought process whatsoever. So, it's a shame that it ended the way it did. But the reason it did is because Redknapp was a bit of a twat. And he still is a bit of a twat. And I'm sure he's down there on Sandbanks being a bit of a twat right now. So is my 2 minutes up? Can I talk about Brendan
5
Rodgers?
seconds.
Oh.
Well done, HG. Good work. Right, I think what we'll do is put this to the public vote. Let us know in the chat. Are you voting for Irish or HG in the Harry? Put Harry and then Irish or HG. Whoever you want. Gavin, obviously, he's a fan of Irish there. Right, so our next chat.
Hang on. You can't tell people to give their thoughts and then just ignore them. Right. Here we go.
Come back to it. I'm going to let them comment and then come back to it.
Oh, okay. All
right. Well, we can have a look. Dave, go on, Dave. Put it up. So I'll take this down for a second.
Hang on.
Put the comments up, Dave, while keep HG happy.
This is the one I wanted to comment about. This one here. Right? Yeah, he was hardly given cash to spend. He spent a fortune in the first window he had. 14 million on Palacios. What would that be in money these days? 40 million? Come on now. Like, he spent money, and he spent money quite well, but let's not say he didn't spend money. He did. He let Chorluka go that summer. He was happy to have Zaha and Nelson. I get that they weren't good enough, but Zaha came in and actually scored. But the reason why we messed that season up is because we went 4-4-2. And Harry did that. No one else. So, like, I understand there was a lot of things that he did well, but at the end of the day, the reason why he didn't stay Spurs manager is because of him.
If he had his way, though, Eden Hazard would have been at Tottenham. It was vetoed by the man above.
We weren't in the Champions League, and Hazard wanted Champions League, and Chelsea took it. I think that was it.
Nelson and Zaha, it was the famous quote. He wanted Tevez, and there was somebody else he wanted.
Gary Cahill.
Gary
Cahill. He was given Tevez and or Nelson and Zaha. So, yeah, look, good debate. Happy with that.
I think I'm pretty sure that Harry Redknapp bought Tim Sherwood to the club on the playing staff, and surely for that alone, that ends the debate, doesn't it?
I had a feeling that would go there.
Right. So, Lucas Moura. Let's get rid of this comment. Who's doing this one? This is Cameron. You've drawn the short straw for having to be pro Lucas Moura. This is not a job I envy anyone. So I wish you best of luck. I better turn my phone back on.
Ready?
Set. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Lucas Moura. Look, he's been a darling for every manager. He's probably the teacher's pet in a way. He's hardworking. He's honest. I'm a big AFL fan. Aussie rules. He would be the perfect clubman, as you would get awarded in AFL parlance at the end of the season. He's probably maintained culture within the locker room, dressing room there. He's probably been the glue to many players within that locker room where the culture's been quite questionable, let's be honest. So, in a way, if he wasn't there, maybe the odd extra player may have left. He obviously has been a versatile winger and a shadow striker. So his versatility is there. I think we look and he's a shadow striker, his goals aren't great. He's been a winger at times. He's had to play wing backs at times. He's probably been a plug for many of the gaps that we've had to have. Whether it's a satisfactory plug, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to leave that for interpretation. But he's been versatile. And let's be honest, Poch, Mourinho, Conte, they're different managers. So they've used them in different positions. Mourinho, uber defensive, Conte to an extent. Poch was far more attacking on him. So you would say that he's had a lot of change throughout his Tottenham career. And look, that's a criticism of Tottenham for chopping his, the managers so often. So he's had to play in different positions, but he's probably not been able to settle down. And look, let's be honest, you cannot question his form leading into the Champions League final, where he'd started numerous games when Kane was injured.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, the final there, should Kane have started? He wasn't exactly too mobile. Maybe that should have been awarded to Moura. We don't know what would have happened.
Time is up. That's done. Well done, Cam. I can't believe you've dragged that out. Well played.
2 minutes and he didn't say the word Amsterdam once. How is that possible?
I had Amsterdam as my next point.
And Davo has got the easiest job of the world here, I think.
He does.
Are you ready? Are you ready, Dave? 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, look, I think it was great to hear from my learned friend down in Victoria this morning. A man who loves the jib and the cut-off. And that's what he's basically saying about Lucas Moura. He's the glue. He's great to have around the club. Lucas Moura, to me, is like it's like a can of Heinz tomato soup. You don't really know what you're going to have for lunch. You look around in your cupboard, and there it is. Stick it in, and that'll do a job. Lucas Moura, the man where attacks and passes, they just go and break down. If it was ever to sum up Lucas Moura's career at our beloved club, let's look at the first 3 games of the season just gone. The game against Manchester City, I would say he was man of the match. He was superb, harrying, chasing, breaking down. He was very, very good. I think he missed a sitter, but there you go. And then the next 2 games, Wolves away and Watford at home, he was absolutely shite. He's very inconsistent. He's had 1 good game in 5. I think Tottenham should really have a think about not buying from PSG going forward. So look at who we've got from PSG. Serge Aurier and Lucas Moura. It says it all. Even when we bought him in January, Poch didn't play him for about another 5 or 6 months because he had to get used to and acclimatised to the position. Lucas Moura, he dines out on Amsterdam. Lucas Moura, he's big mates with Brendan. And that's probably just about it for his Tottenham career. He posts lovely videos when he's doing dancing with his family on Instagram. I reckon he'll be a great 5th or 6th choice on the bench this season. And at the end of the day, he's got 2 years left on his contract. He's a club man. He's going to run it down, and then he's going to go home back to Brazil and end his playing career there. Lucas Moura, is he the Brazilian Paul Walsh? Probably. How long have we got left?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, well, Lucas Moura, thanks very much for Amsterdam, but even a half-fit Harry Kane replaced you for the final. Just about says it all, really.
Done. Well done, Dave. Right, I'm going to ask HG, do you want to go through the comments?
Okay. This one stood out. Get into the Lamella. I'm going to ignore Bergwijn, but in the Lamella category, yeah, useful. But no, hang on a second. Bergwijn was useful. Lamella and Lucas are not useful. They've never been useful.
I do have a pro Lucas thought. It's because we have Lucas, we were able to get rid of Lamella.
No, that was Brian Hill. If anything, Brian, but that Brian Hill facilitated Lamella exit.
If we didn't have Lucas, we wouldn't have got rid of Lamella.
If we didn't have good hospitals, we would never have kept Lamella. I mean, that's.
I mean, what a choice! What a choice that is. Keep Moura and sell Lamella. Wow! It's and people wonder why we've struggled over the last couple of years.
It's like a midfield between Dizel and Samways. I mean, what? No.
Oh, jeez. 93, 94, terrible. Can we do in the chat, please? Can we have a Cam or HG? No, Davo. Sorry, it wasn't. It was Davo, wasn't it? Cameron or Davo? Give us your votes.
New South Wales versus Victoria.
Oh, here we go. Melbourne versus Sydney.
Melbourne versus Sydney. Melbourne with all those global. Hello, family HG.
Pitch invasion.
And Sydney with all their floods.
And Melbourne with all those globally renowned world tourist attractions, such as the set of Neighbours, a latte machine, and the Grand Prix once a year in a public park. Other than that, that's your lot.
So you're going to get your pancakes today using a canoe?
Yeah, I'm just going to be on Noah's Ark and head down to Woolies later.
Cam's got a positive one with Kerry, but otherwise Davo's winning that, which I'm not really surprised.
I actually want to sell you because it was a tough one.
Yeah, that was a hard task, Cameron. Fair play, mate. A bit like Gibbo doing Enoch last time. Real hard into nothing. And the last one is Irish against Davo, and is Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Let me just get my phone ready. So, Irish, you're going 4, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Look, Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is a player that has divided a lot of opinion in the fan base over the last while. But let's remember why he was brought in here in the first place, because Ronald McDombele did not want to do any defensive work. So we brought in Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg to come in and be that steal. That's exactly what he done. Now, look, it's not Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg's fault that other players that were brought in to be attacking, like Ronald McDombele, Le Shitso, Dele Alli and stuff like that, they fell off by the wayside. Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg never done that, has always remained consistent. Then, he was paired beside Harry Winks, and a lot of people were actually starting to question Hojbjerg. Is Harry Winks better than Hojbjerg? Well, we took Hojbjerg out for one game. I think it was the Wolves game. I remember it because I was nearly crying when I seen Harry Winks in the lineup. I paid to get over there, and Harry Winks is in your lineup. But Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, the brick house I like to call him, he exposed Harry Winks. He's come in. People then had questions about Hojbjerg's passing. Then he just produces that assist for Harry Kane against Leeds. He was... Even in some of the poor games, Brentford, Brighton, he was our most creative player on the pitch. If you go back and look at the chances, some of the chances we created, they were done by Hojbjerg. And at the end of the day, every question someone has asked to Hojbjerg, whether it's passing, etc., Hojbjerg has answered it. And at the end of the day, we may not appreciate others may not appreciate what Hojbjerg does, but I guarantee you Harry Kane and Son and players like that do. Because Hojbjerg is the one, when they lose the ball, he picks it back up again and gets it back to them. And at the end of the day, every football team needs one. Every top team across Europe has one. And that's why I think we need to keep hold of Pierre-Emile Brickhouse. He maintains them standards. He's the first one in the training ground, along with Eric Dyer, every single day. The last one to leave. He sets the standards. He holds people to values. He holds people to their morals. He holds people to their standards. He gets the best of people around him. He's the only one on the pitch that will bollock players when they're not doing well. Pierre-Emile Brickhouse, the Viking, has been absolutely brilliant for Tottenham since we got him. We paid 15 million.
You're done. You're done. Very good. Right. Davo, you ready?
I'm all good.
You can quit now.
Nah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. What a curate's egg of a player he is. Do they have curate's egg in Copenhagen? I've no idea whatsoever. Let's not forget the time. You're right, Irish David Harris. What a lovely name you have, by the way. Because let's not forget the time when we bought him. What was our central midfield players' options at the time? I think Victor Wanyama, had he just gone to Canada or not? He was well past his best. We had Eric Dyer still lurking around the central midfield. And then also we had the Hemsted, Iniesta, Harold Winks. Hojbjerg came in. He started well. We beat Man United 6-1. He was applauding Aurier, which is kind of dodgy in any way. But as the season went on and he got tired, it began to be quite clear that he began to get good at running around and waving his arms in his air like this. It was like he was directing traffic at the airport. What are you doing, Pierre-Emile? I've no idea. And let's not forget when he gets near the goal, he has a nosebleed. Let's not forget that crucial game against Liverpool away, where Sandra Redknapp could have headed it away rather than him, and that chance that he had, but he didn't. He screwed it up very badly. Hojbjerg, remember Villa away? When, we've just hired a new set-piece person to take care of the set pieces this season. But when we were lining up a wall and Villa were attacking us, he turned around and was shouting at Lloris. And then they chipped it over and Danny Ings nearly scored. What are you doing, Pierre? It's not very good. This season, he's going to be like, if you remember Take That, we've got 4 in the midfield at the moment. We've got Bentancur, we've got Skip, and we've got Basuma. Really, Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is going to be the Howard of Take That this season. No one really knows what he's going to do. He's not going to be used very often. And that's about it. But at the end of the day, Hojbjerg came in, but we had very shit options. He looked half decent because the rest of it was pretty crap. But now we've moved on as a club. We're top 4. Yeah, play him in the League Cup.
That's it. 2 minutes, done. I just want to point this up, Ricky. This is a game. It's not that Dave doesn't like Hojbjerg. It's a bit of a debate thing, a bit of fun. We have a for and against, not necessarily a personal opinion.
It's just saving all of us from talking about Spence for another 15 minutes. and as long as we don't sign him and I'm on, we are having sacred cow, honestly.
I need another minute, John. I
just saw your message. I was ignoring it, Dave.
Yeah.
I know. But what I will say is, what Dave won't tell you is the amount of minutes Hojbjerg has played since he's got here. The most trusted player under Jose Mourinho. 38 out of 30. I think it was 38 out of 38 Premier League games. Most trusted last season as well. 36 out of 38. Completing nearly 90 minutes across both seasons. Going to the semi-finals with Denmark in between. But this is also a guy that last season gave us a nice iconic moment where he's standing over Arteta like that in the pre-season cup friendly, and Arsenal players would not do anything about Arteta absolutely cocking himself. But Dave won't tell you that. So vote for Irish.
Right. Tomorrow, I believe the squad fly to South Korea. It's correct, isn't it? Because we got here's our pre-season games. So they play at midday UK time. They play against a Korea League Select 11, I guess it is. And then we play next Saturday at 12 o'clock again, midday. What time's that going to be for you, Cam and Davo? 12 o'clock here.
Oh, good question. About 2 p.m.
What, 12 o'clock lunchtime in the UK?
Yeah.
That's 9 o'clock at night. That's an hour after curfew. That's an hour after curfew's finished for Melbourne, or curfew starts. So they'll all be tucked up in bed.
God, talking about Sydney, they don't have planes coming in after 11 p.m. So you know about curfews more than me.
And then we travel to Glasgow, a game that Gibbo is going to against Rangers, and then out to Israel randomly to play Roma. Obviously, where you go to play Roma. Does HG only 4 pre-season friendlies? Does that seem enough? Oh, you're muted, mate.
He's muted.
You're muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
My daughter and her cousins were playing around here a while ago. Look, I won't see the first 2 because it'll be 4 o'clock in the morning here. But look, 4's not a lot, but it's not as if we won't have lots of games to get going once it all starts. You'd think somewhere, but I guess with all that flying, I mean, playing in Scotland seems a bit silly. There's no home game for the fans to go to for a friendly. That usually happens at least once. So it is a bit odd. But you'd like to think that 4 will be enough, but I don't see how it can be. That Southampton game will have to get going pretty early. But I thought maybe, when they came back, I mean, between the Ibrox game and the one in Israel, maybe they could do something there, but I don't know where or how. And but 4 seems a bit undercooked for me.
Yeah, Davo.
Oh, look, it's the way of the world. Obviously, travel's been very restricted the last couple of years. Need to get out there and get that brand around the world and all that kind of good stuff. I do miss the traditional pre-season game against Leyton Orient at Brisbane Road. I always used to go down there with a couple of mates of mine who are Orient fans and watch a game and have a beer. It does seem a bit undercooked, but they've got what's the total number of games they've got to play before the World Cup starts? It's really compressed.
It's like, I think we have 4 in August. I think for the first few games it is just at the weekend, and then the West Ham game is midweek. Yeah. And then after that, it basically becomes every midweek. It's a bit weird. But
it's a very compressed schedule. So maybe the thought behind it is to just get 4 games in, work the squad, work them hard at the training ground, which he didn't get to do last year because obviously he came in November, and then off you go.
I think it's crazy. These 2, look, to go to Korea, I get it. But the other side of the planet, just to play 2 games just prior to the season. I mean, when you travel long distances, you're knackered for a few days. And doing all that traveling in a compressed period of time, in Israel as well, I actually think it's a bit clumsy by the club this time around with all those games coming up. I would have liked to have stayed, have them play more locally coming up to this season because, gee, that schedule's like if you're flying out the day after and you're flying for at least half a day, then trying to get back into the time zone, it's a bit clumsy.
Yeah, but Israel's only about 5 hours on the plane. It's not that bad. It's like going up to Darwin or Cairns. Come on, it's not that bad.
Yeah. No, I'm talking Korea, though.
Korea?
It's more the time difference than the amount of time on the plane, isn't it? I mean, like I flew back 9 hours time difference yesterday to come to California. I feel all right. I woke up at 4 this morning, but I feel okay. So I think it's certainly coming back from Israel won't be a big issue, but maybe going there will be a bit weird when you land and it's you've got to go to bed after your body says it's 6 o'clock, but you need to go to bed now. That might be a bit odd, but otherwise, I mean, they should be fine.
I think they should be fine, but it's just the distance covered. I mean,
yeah, it's unnecessary for sure.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. That's what I'm getting to. And look, I'll go back to the Aussie rules parlance. You'd know HG, you had your West Coast teams coming over to the East Coast. When you're playing, it's okay in theory, but it's that travel time where it knackers players in Aussie rules over that period of time because you're going back and forth. Now, these are longer distances. Yeah, it's at least a week or 2 away from the start of the season. But to me, for this season, I think it's just unnecessary.
It would be interesting to see what we do. I mean, if we've only got, we're not going to see many people play more than an hour in any of those games because we've still got a lot of players that we might want to see in action. But yeah, like it is what it is, I guess. I mean, it's right. David's right. A lot of the team that will start that game against Southampton were here last year, and so a lot of them will know what to do. In fact, probably all of them. I'm not sure any of our new signings will start. Maybe Perisic, but I don't think Bissouma will. I don't think obviously Richarlison can't. So I think that first game is a bit more okay. This is what we did last year, and then for the Chelsea one, we might see something maybe a bit different. Well, but it's all about the pre-season, I think, this year, rather than the friendlies themselves.
I still think there's signings to come. So the problem you've got is if they're away in Korea or in Israel, when are they going to get broken into the squad? Like, essentially, the season started. So they've got to get used to systems, which they can, I get it. Probably straight off and running. There's no real pre-season time. I get we've got the new signings already, but do we all agree that there's going to be more signings to come? I do. I think there's positions that still need to be fulfilled.
Irish, talk. Tell us who's coming in next.
I don't know. I would like to think that we still have enough. I'd like to think like if you look at our net spend, I think we spent realistically about between 30 and 40 million. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but in terms of if you take away what we spent and what we've sold, so there's still plenty of money in the kitty. I wouldn't be surprised if we still have a big signing in us. I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't be surprised. But in terms of preseason, look, I think it's more so to get the lads away, a change of scenery, a fresh, away from England. They've been locked down and stuff like that. And look, for me, I don't mind them going out to Korea. Look, it's a good PR exercise. Get the money in. Club took a bit of a hit during COVID. Try and remake some of that back. We know how fanatical the fans are out there. Yeah, look, preseason is preseason. I'll be honest, I'm excited to get going. I can't wait to watch Tottenham. I can't wait to see what we're going to do this year under Conte. Look, Conte, I don't think will worry too much about the results or the amount of games. It's more for him just to get them up to speed, get them fit. We know he has a military-like regime, so I think that's more what Conte will want to use his preseason for. But it's a good job that we got in a lot of our signings so that they can go on preseason rather than what we've done beforehand where you're bringing in signings while the season's kicked off. You're trying to integrate them into training, into the squad and into the match as well while the season's going on. It's just hectic. At least now we've learned from our mistakes and we've got them in early, which gives our signings the best chance to make an immediate impact. hit the ground running. They've come in, they've got a full preseason under the belt with Antonio Conte. So when the season starts, we're actually giving these players the best chance to succeed at Tottenham, rather than, because look, we all know under Pochettino, you'd sign a player, you wouldn't see him for 3-4 weeks, if not longer, and that's because Pochettino is trying to get him up to his fitness standards. So instead of making that same mistake under Antonio Conte, who also has rigorous fitness standards, get them in early. I'm happy for it. At least now we still have 5-6 weeks to operate in the market, and you're bringing in players, and you're not going to have that much problems as we would have had before. So I look, pre-season, just get it over the way, get me into the Premier League and Champions League. Tottenham are back.
To answer King Hoddle's question, I'm sure when Robbie Keane was in the team, we were in a tournament out in Korea.
The Peace Cup.
Yeah, Peace
Cup.
Yeah.
Did we win the Peace Cup?
We did. That was before the Audi Cup. I've just got a couple of other ones. Marco has said the problem Forest wanting to sell him. He's not a Forest player, Marco. He's a Middlesbrough player. He was on loan at Forest last season. However, yes, Borough are adding on clauses. So that is why that is dragging on. Al Pasha said, get Rafinha. I think he wants to go to Barcelona. He's turning down Chelsea, isn't he?
Yeah.
And also, it's a lot of money when we really need to probably sort out the centre-back and a number 10 role first. I'd love Rafinha. Great man.
And the wing-back situation as well. I mean, the interesting thing about the career tour is to see who he leaves behind.
Yeah.
So there's two interesting things for me. One is who he's going to leave behind. And then one presumes the first kind of press he's going to do of the season is going to be on this tour. And then we're going to get the utterances from Conte as to whether he's happy with the business done so far. And then, that's when it all starts again, isn't it? Because, one word he says out of place, off we go again. He's not happy. So that's the interesting thing for me about this tour. Who's he leaving behind? And Conte's first presser, as they say.
Is it true that Lenglet doesn't have a visa, so can't go to Korea?
He hasn't got one at the moment, so it depends how quickly they can get it done. But it's
because he needs to get out there. We need to have him out there, even if he doesn't play a single minute. He needs to be out there with his teammates, just getting to know them.
Yeah, he needs to do the induction. The karaoke song. Maybe he'll sing "Je ne regrette rien."
Yes, I surely they can sort that out in a few days. They go to the French embassy or something, or the South Korean embassy. I don't know how you do it. They'll get it sorted, I imagine.
Won't he have to satisfy the criteria that he's a decent football player to get a visa? Just saying.
I'm sure Musa Sissoko managed to do it at some point. So
yeah, but that's pre-Brexit. But anyway, we don't do politics. Move on.
Yeah. Why speculation about JWP gone for? I think it's just the price. I think he's too much for us, and we've signed Basuma. Different player, but central midfielder ultimately. I think we need a more number 10 if we're going to sign that sort of player.
Yes.
What's happening with Reggie? Ask Kerry King. Who wants this one? Anyone? Irish?
I don't know. It's gone very quiet on the guy. It's gone very quiet. I'm not sure. I don't know anything. Look, if I was to answer the guest, I think it would be more make sense that he leaves with Perisic and Sessegnon there, and Sessegnon being homegrown. I don't know. I wouldn't be in a rush to sell Redknapp either. I think he could. He might have a good campaign this year if we keep him around.
But isn't there the complication of if he stays on by a certain time, we have to cough up 20-something mil or something to Real or something?
That's right.
Is there a complication?
We'd have to pay that money anyway, unless he went back to Madrid.
Well, if we paid it, then we commit. Well, then, even though we don't want to, we'd have to commit to him and then probably develop him. Is that correct?
Well, we could sell him, but we'd have to pay the money now, I think. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, Reggie's. He's finished at Tottenham, so sell him. I say he's got to go.
You don't think? I know we got Perisic, but you don't think Conte can build him up and make him a better player?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I mean, in the end, he's kind of favoured Sessegnon. I know he got injured, Reggie, but he looks a half decent left back in his first season. Second season, with the system changing, he didn't fit. We need from our wing backs 10 goals collectively from our wing backs for the season. That's the style that Conte plays. Reggie's never going to deliver that.
Okay, so before we wind up, let's have a quick discussion actually about the squad. I'm not going to go keepers. Let's talk about that goals conversation, Davo.
Mm-hmm.
So from those defenders, which it doesn't have Perisic on it, this was something Paul Muir put up on Glory Tottenham Hotspur that JP's made a bit more pretty. So if we add Perisic as a left wing back, how many goals do you think that department should give? So centre backs and wing backs in the season. Start with you, Davo.
Well, I reckon Ben Davies is good for a couple. I mean, I remember that beautiful header against Newcastle. Obviously, Eric Dyer will take over free kick duties from Harry Kane under the new set piece specialist, and he'll curl 5 up top. Romero, I don't think he scores the goals, doesn't he? Who else is there? Sanchez, no. Sessegnon, big season for Sessegnon, in my opinion. I think those hammies need to stay good and well. He needs to get to the byline more. He needs to be getting more aggressive. He needs to get some goals. Big make or break season Sessegnon for me at Tottenham. Tanganga won't be there. Emerson Royale, I don't think so. So at the end of the day, you're looking at Perisic, maybe a Dyer free kick, maybe Davis. So we do need to get someone in who's capable of scoring some goals. I mean, Perisic, I think, will be the main source of goals if you chuck him into the mix there.
So a number? 15?
4.3 recurring.
Thanks. HG. Oh, you muted again.
From all of those players combined, like I think any centre back should be looking for 2 or 3 a season, at least. But that should be a target. Wing backs in the system we play, somewhere between 5 and 10. I mean, I think any of the midfielders should be somewhere between 5 and 10. You've got to be.
We get into the midfielders. We get into the midfielders.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So for defenders, for central defenders, 3 I think is a pretty good target. And then for the wing backs, 5 plus.
So what you're saying, 8 combined?
What do you mean 8 combined?
As you said 3, or do you mean 3 for each?
No. I mean per player. They should be all the centre backs should be looking for 3 each, and all the wing backs should be looking for 5 each. I don't know how many times they're going to play, but for the target, I think that's what we should be looking for.
Okay, so if you say if we just do it as positional, so 2 wing backs, 3 centre backs, that's 9 for the centre backs and 10 for the. So yeah, you're talking 19 goals. That's I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be amazing, but I just think the way that the system is playing, like we're going to get free kicks, so the centre backs will have opportunities from corners and whatever. They'll have the chance to do that. But as an individual, if you're playing 25 games a season as a centre back, I think that 3 goals isn't that outrageous, personally. And for a wing back, if you're doing the same and you're going to get into attacking positions, then probably 5 plus. It's weird. I know that most of our goals are scored by attacking 3, but if everyone's going to contribute, then I think that should be the target that each individual player is looking for.
Okay, I'm going to bring the other 2 in for Cameron and Irish. You can discuss the midfield. We'll presume that Winks, Lo Celso are probably going to be gone. How many goals do you think our and take Perisic out of this one? Cameron, I'll start with you. How many goals do you think those central midfielders could give us over a whole season, League and Cup?
5 to 10. Oh, gee. Have a look at that list. I think Lo Celso will be gone. Ndombele's barely going to play. So, I'd go 10-ish. I think the wing backs with Perisic there, 10 to 15. I think Conte's system lives and dies by the hard work and the endeavour and essentially the wing backs that have to work their guts off, but obviously provide those goals there. So I'm going 10 to 15. I think Perisic will hit the ground running, to be honest. I actually think where it is his training regime, like he's a fitness nut. So I actually think Perisic could be a really early sensation for the rest of them, around 10. But I think Perisic is going to be a highlight very early on because I think he's conditioned very well already. You skip Bentancur. Winks is not going to be there. I'll stick around the 10-ish area with Perisic being the outlier.
Well, Irish, I'm going to give you the strikers. Now we know Clarke's going to go. So how many do you think all these strikers are going to give us this season? Let's go through them player by player.
Harry Kane, I think he'll score around 30 across all competitions, yeah, just not the Premier League.
Yeah.
Harry Kane, I'm
All
going to go
rules.
30. I'm going to go
Right.
Son with 20. I'll give Decky 10. I'll give Richarlison 15. Lucas, I'll give 5. And then Gillen Clarke, not so sure. Yeah, so whatever that adds up to, I failed maths in school, my man, so you're going to have to do the counting on this one. You're going to have to whip out the calculator.
80, my man.
No, look, we'll round it up to 100. Yeah, no, 80 is reasonable. 80 is reasonable. What I will say is there is potential for us to score a lot more goals than what we already did last season. Don't forget, we got that set piece coach in. He's got 4,000 odd routines. So, there's potential for a lot more goals this season because we don't capitalize enough from free kicks and corners. So, throwing the set piece coach in, hopefully we'll see more.
Yeah, any thoughts on that, Davo?
Yeah, I think this season Lucas is going to beat Clive Allen's record and get 50 goals this season. I think Kane will get 25, Son 20. Richarlison will get one more than Decky because I said he'd score more than Decky earlier in the show. Brian Heel will have a great season acclimatising to English football, playing for Valencia. And who's left? Jack Clarke. It'll be whatever. And who's the other one? That was it, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, Jack Clarke's gone, and that's it. There'll be a shed load scored up top. A shed load. I just think of our central midfielders, that the 4 that we've got, but don't score a lot of goals. They're not expected to score a lot of goals in that system. So it would be nice if Basuma kind of got a few more goals than the rest, because Bentancur and Hojbjerg, when they get near that penalty box, it's never pleasant from a scoring point of view.
It's strange because Bentancur looks such a calm player until he gets near the goal.
Yeah, you're right. It's weird.
Panic, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's true. He's a class player, isn't he?
He is. So I would think someone said that they'd donate 20 to the cheese room if I said something positive. So I'm going to say something positive. Bentancur, great signing, fantastic impact on us. Really upskilled that midfield. Brilliant on the ball. Sees the pass. I love him. That's positive,
He's
isn't
the
it?
reason. We'll be playing Wednesdays.
Yes.
Well done, Davo. Right. We've been going 2 hours now, guys. There's 270 people watching. 150 likes. Please give us a like if you haven't liked already. Please subscribe to us. We're almost at 5k subscribers. Share the Cheese Room podcast. Let everyone know about us if you're a Spurs fan. Everybody's welcome in the chat. Right. I think we're probably going to call it a day there, guys. So, Irish, thank you very much for joining us again. It's been a couple of weeks. We've had your partner in crime, Jack's, been on the last 2 Fridays, which has been fantastic. He's a great find. Thanks for coming on.
No, look, thanks for having me. Look, Jack is probably certainly better spoken than me and gets his points better across than me. Jack's a good addition. But yeah, thanks for having me. I've really appreciated it. Hopefully I can be back again or get asked back again. And everyone smash the subscribe button here. Let's get the Cheese Room to 5k. Should be done already. What are we waiting for?
Cameron, your second show. Well done, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great in chilly Melbourne.
Davo, thank you again for your run sheet jokes that I ignored, just like Caller.
Yeah, no worries. Cameron, much on for the day in Melbourne? What tourist sites will you be taking in today?
Yeah, Brighton bathing boxes before I go for a dip in probably sub-zero Port Phillip Bay.
Yeah, watch your jibs there, mate. It's very cold.
Yeah, I will.
Lovely to be on, John. Well, and beautiful to be back on with HG again. It's been a long time. And the fact that he argued against Harry Redknapp is why I love HG so much. Great to be back on. Thank you.
And HG, I've missed your face amazingly. People might look at YouTube and everyone. It's been such a long time since you've been on. It's been great to have you back on. And now we've got your children and nieces behind you.
That's my wife and daughter behind me. But
okay.
I'm going to enjoy the sunshine here in California. And I'm going
What's
to be
the
here
time over there?
It's 3:00 in the afternoon. So I will be here for the next 4 weeks. I basically land the same day that we play Southampton. So I'm going to see it all from here, all the pre-season. But it's nice. I'll be thinking of you all as I take another drink and sit on the swing behind me. Thanks for having me on.
So on that note, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back on Monday. Hopefully Cole will be back in the hot seat. And obviously, again, Shannon will be back on Wednesday. So until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.